Welcome to the Dave and Georgie show.
Hi.
Have you got a jingle?
Not yet. You're more than welcome to come up with one
I'm
now.
not very musical. No.
Ah, I thought you were going to.
Maybe we should make
was tempted.
drums on the
I'm
table.
not going to. I can't embarrass myself further.
You haven't even started.
I don't, well, this isn't the start, is it? So it's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, we are recording. It kind of is.
Well, we've
the
got
start.
about half an hour, so
Yeah,
we can maybe adding some tunage on the way. But welcome to the Dave and Georgie show. As I said, we are a collaboration of two networking fanatics. I do huge amounts now. Dave, not so much these days, but is still very much in the world of referrals and teaching people how to make the most of the human side of sales.
Human connection. I think we are both massive advocates of human connection, haven't we? Aren't we? So
We are.
Yeah.
We are, absolutely. And talking of humans, we have two amazing humans in the room today. Kevin Smith and Andrew Smith, two Smiths, as
We're not
you can
related.
No,
tell.
not
And
that
it's
we
not
know
Mr.
of.
and Mrs. Smith or Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's, just two very separate Smiths. In fact, two different parts of the UK. We've got Kevin from Wales,
Yep.
and I was going to try and do an accent then. I won't
You
bother.
still can. Why not?
Wales.
Time.
Can you
Yeah,
do a
there
good
go.
Welsh accent?
No.
Not can I.
And Andrew from, South London. What county are you? Kent?
Yeah, I mean, Kent.
Kent, okay.
Kent, yeah.
Okay, cool. So if you guys can give us a quick intro about who you are and what you're doing. You don't have to go into all the detail about what you're doing at the moment because there's some pretty
You
cool
want to keep it
things.
short,
but
yeah?
quick, short, elevator pitch about what you're up to at the moment. We'll start with you, Kevin.
Yeah, sure. So, I started out as a developer many years ago. Not a very good one, so I quickly got out of that and decided to go into project management and then start my own businesses. Most recently, I co-founded a business in 2016 called Credus, which was a pretty good journey. We sold it in 2023 to a Canadian PLC company. So it was a really good experience.
I know Credus.
You know it, yeah?
Yeah, I know Credus.
Maybe you've used it, like on property or something?
Yep.
Yeah. It always blows my mind because something like 56% of UK property transactions now use a Credus check at some point. But to me, it's still this little business in the corner of a desk in Cardiff somewhere. that
Your
we
little
started.
baby.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, these days anyway, having exited that, we started, myself and my co-founder, a business called Venture Comet, which basically is designed to try and help founders win. And by win, I mean get money out of the business in some way, whether that's an equity release along the journey, get into an exit and realizing a liquidity event, really helping founders to understand how that's going to happen, how they can maximize what that looks like. And that's the kind of passion for me, really, is trying to help founders along the journey, because it's a really tough journey. And I think until you kind of really live the journey, you don't necessarily understand just how tough and brutal and difficult it is to get through it. So trying to give back a bit and help other people through that is where I'm at the moment.
I like that. I really like that. Your point around journeys being hard for founders, I think is a lot of people say, "Oh, you'll be a founder; it'd be great fun, and I can make loads of money."
Yeah.
Well, I can make a lot more money by not being a founder, and I may not have had some of the stresses that go with it. So, yeah, sorry. So you asked a question. Didn't you?
Well, over to you. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I'm Andrew Smith. My background is I used to be a software developer, but it's predominantly technology and then financial services with that. Some people like to say fintech, but I'm going to go with tech fin. So I'm more technology focused and then financial services second, predominantly around banking, but a little bit of insurance thrown in there. Kind of like, what do? I always say, I hate it when people do a rundown. What do you do? And you give her like, oh, I did this or I do that, and you get a job description. No. What I do is, I think I would say that I solve big problems. I like to call them big problems, but they're just problems, predominantly in financial services. And the way I do that is by using technology and new business models. And that's pretty much it, if you think about it. That's what I try to do. But it evolves. So you can't just say come up with a great bit of technology and a business model and deliver that, because who are you delivering it to and how did you get it to be something? You've lived the journey. So I'd also say that I'm pretty good at building high-performing teams. And as you build a high-performing team, sometimes you end up building a business off the back of that. And so my background is very much as a fintech founder. I think I've founded 6 fintechs now, but let's discount a couple of those because they may not have made it.
Yeah.
But there's 3 that you probably know me for. So the first one is Clearbank. The second one is a company called RTGS Global. And the third one is the one I'm passionate about. And that's this one, and that's Sporter. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about those when you want. But
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, I think now would be a good time to tell us a little bit about Sporter, and then throughout the rest of the session, we can delve into that in a few different ways.
yeah, so I think actually all businesses are founded based on a problem that you try to solve, or at least they should be.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, yeah, but that's what you try to do. Sporter is no different. We're trying to solve a problem. The problem is that sport, leisure, well-being, and mainly sport, is actually no longer financially sustainable in the UK the way that we know it. If you look at some of the stats, there's north of 40% of all sports clubs now think they won't be here in the next 3 to 4 years. And a lot of people then go, oh, what do you mean? That's like your grassroots sports club, or is it a Manchester United? But actually, it's much more than that. Sport is a real ecosystem in the UK. Yeah, it's your grassroots clubs, it's your big clubs, but it's also the people, the volunteers, the members, the coaches, the businesses around it. There's some 150,000 clubs, another 200,000 businesses that are dependent on sport, and a further 650,000 that are kind of dependent on revenue from sport or sport generating revenue. So it's a big thing. And when I look back at my own life, sports played a big part in my development, plays a big part in my kids' development. We were just talking earlier on, weren't we, at the start about you as a parent, you run around driving your kids to different sports events and things.
Oh yes.
So if you think 40% of that may disappear in the next 3 to 5 years, what does that look like?
Yeah, wow.
And so sports really is, how do we solve that? What's causing it and how do we solve it? So part of the causation behind that is that financial services has left those that don't fit the norm behind. And if you think about sports clubs and sports individuals, they don't fit the normal 9 to 5. They don't fit the normal 9 to 5 role, or the private limited company. They just don't have regular income. It's cyclical. It's seasonal. And as a result, they don't get the products and services they need. If you get financially marginalised, you become dependent on other forms of revenue. And I think we all know that sport is dependent on donations. It's dependent on sponsorship. It's dependent on volunteers. So Sporter really is saying, well, okay, how do we change this? And it's an AI native bank at its heart. We're not yet a bank. I must clarify that. So we have to go through the process, and we're on the journey. So hopefully, we'll get there in the next 12 to 18 months. It's a high bar to get to be a bank. It's a lot of work, but we will be hopefully an AI native challenger bank. And that sounds all cool and like hipster. You've created an AI bank, but actually it's about personalization. So with AI and the way that we utilize it, we can create really hyper personalized, tailored products and services back to you. And that's something that's quite different, right? And in doing that, you make sure that people aren't left behind. So people involved in sport, the industry, they can move along with us. But, if I pick on Georgie, for example, Georgie, you can come and bank with us and you'll get the best experience you'll get. There's a great step change in financial services. You've seen the challenger banks. They've moved on the experience and what's possible over the last 5-10 years. But with AI and some of the things that you can do now, that's a really different bar, and it's a real step change. So just by banking with us, not only will you get the best products and services tailored for you, and you can design them how you wish, but you're also giving back to that sports economy. And because we're AI native, we can deliver them the products and services. So we make everything more financially sustainable, and that's really what sport is about. So I'm really passionate about it, and I'm conscious that I've spoken far too long about that.
Well, you know what? Normally, the second and third question we ask our guests, and the second one is one that I run through everything that I do with clients and anyone I work with around human connection, and it's that people refer you, and in this context, people know you, remember you for what you do, not what you sell, right? And I think you've already answered that in terms of the problems that you solve, and it's clear why you love it. So I think you've done 3 in 1, so you're all good there. But Kevin, I'm gonna kind of come back to you with the kind of that those journeys that you take people on through venture comment things. Where are you taking people from and to, and why do you love what you do?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, and I think going back to my point earlier, really, it's really, really tough to go through the founder journey. And what you tend to find as a founder, in particular, going through that journey, is you make a lot of sacrifices. Like you give a lot, don't you? I mean, it's not just financially. You give a lot of time. You miss things. You miss
kids' birthdays.
Yeah, birthdays, holidays, stuff on hold. It's a personal thing as well, with your partner and your kids and stuff, constantly, excuses around time and all the rest of it. And then
I had this conversation this morning.
yeah, there you go. And very often there's very little to give back, and you ask a lot of patience from your partners, your kids and everything while you go through like a 7-year journey trying to get something at the end of it. And it's always later, the exit's always down the road, and it's a long time to go through, right? So the product we're launching in January, which is the one I'm really passionate about, it's called Nibble, taking a nibble of your equity. So it stands for something else, but it's a cool way of remembering it. And what that does, it allows founders to take 5% of their equity out of the business as cash, effectively. So if you've raised, for example, a 4 million valuation, you've got 40% of the business. Technically, you've got 1.6 million of equity sat there in your paper shares, but it's all locked up and you can't touch it. Now, letting the founder release 5% of that, 80K, is really, really significant to them through the journey. And that's depressurizing, that's de-risking themselves. Maybe it's a family holiday, some debt paid off, some financial breathing room. And it lets founders then continue the course and kind of stay on and make good decisions, go through and get to the exit. And there isn't really a release valve like that for founders. And you're kind of expected to, year after year after year, keep chasing something, which always
it's the
feels
promise
like
that never
it's a long way.
comes. That's what it feels like. I 100% agree with you.
Is your biggest challenge there? Because I've done a little bit, nowhere near as experienced as you guys, but I've done a little bit in the founder space. It's how we first met, Kevin, wasn't it? It's
It is.
startup community. Is your biggest challenge there investor education around why it's actually good for these founders to be in a better state, right?
It's a great question, and there's always been this kind of taboo, I think, around founders taking money off the table. Oh, you've got to wait to the end. You've got to be patient. We don't want you demotivated. You've got to be like desperate and
You need skin in the
hungry.
game. I hate that. I hate that beyond belief.
Can't be demotivated, but you can be crawling along the floor with your wife and kids.
Yeah, on the
hating you. That's
yeah.
fine.
It's a pretty, but like nothing motivates more than success. Like a taste of success is, if you imagine the mentality of a founder that's just had 70, 80 grand out of their business, it's real. This thing can actually make money for me. And what it also does, it validates the value of the rest of your shares. So you forget the demotivating. You've now proven to yourself, my shares are worth real money, and there's a big pot of them there. I can take the pressure off financially. I don't have to desperately look for the exit. And there comes a point in the founder journey, and I'm not sure if you found this yourself, mate, but typically around the kind of 3-year mark, when you're 3 years in, and you kind of hit a bit of a mini wall because it's long and it's grueling. And after 3 years, you kind of get past the initial desperate kind of startup, we actually going to get anywhere phase. And you realize there's some worth in the business, and you start maybe thinking about liquidity or future exit events, but they're still years away. And there's almost that kind of, hopelessness sometimes. I've done this for years, and you look up and it's still more years to go on low salaries and stuff. So just having a release, having a way to get something out and keep it on the journey.
It's awkward conversations as well. So you talk about releasing some equity. Me and my wife had some conversations. Said, when we can get a little bit out, we'll be able to just pay this bit of the mortgage off, or get the garden done, or something's going wrong and you need to sort it out.
Everything's on hold, isn't it? Until
everything's on hold. Everything's on hold.
Yeah. And I think
I'm going to be using this service.
Yeah, I think it's. I think as well. Like the other thing when I talk about winning, it's all about not every founder starts a business purely to get money out. There's passion projects and there's good problems to solve. What you're working on obviously solves a real problem as well. And I'm sure there's a lot of passion in that for you as well as a potential financial reward. But founders are keen at some point to have a liquidity event or get money out. Giving them options to do that and helping them get to those opportunities earlier and in the best way possible is really rewarding, because when the kind of growing capital or like growth, wealth generation, I think that's what I'm all about, is wealth generation, generating wealth, doing well, working hard and generating success. And it's very, very hard to do that when you're constantly in a position of weakness. You're financially stretched, you're strained, you don't make good decisions, you're just looking at how I can get something out of it. Being able to help people along that journey see the course of the journey is really, really important. The outcomes of businesses are life-changing. There's not many ways, other than buying a lottery ticket, there's not many ways you can go over a period of a few years and achieve a multi-million-pound life-changing event. There's not many ways you can do it, And I think starting a business...
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It feels like a gamble, though, doesn't it? So you kind of invest everything that you've had. So, when we started Clearbank, everything you said is true, right? We put everything on hold.
Yeah.
life-changing events for us when my wife and I got married actually whilst we was in the middle of the Clearbank journey, and that did not go quite. I didn't get a honeymoon.
Yeah,
So let me rephrase it.
Imagine, yeah.
She didn't get a honeymoon. That's probably what I should have brought up.
Yeah.
So, actually, that segues into something we always ask our guests, and I'm loving hearing you talk. But I think it's a perfect. We always ask our guests something you tell your younger self. Like, is there anything you'd say? And you're both talking about these very stressful, very complex journeys, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's probably truer than ever with your own founder journeys, the fact that of how many founders you talk to. I think I'm looking forward to this response more than most. Don't
Don't get excited.
It's not like it's live or anything. But is there anything you tell your younger self?
So I spoke quite openly about this. So I recently got diagnosed. No, well, actually, I didn't recently. About 2.5, 3 years ago, I got diagnosed with being neurodiverse. And it sounds so cliche. You go, oh, my whole life made sense and everything was crystal clear. But actually, I would go back and talk to myself and say, actually, the way that I approach things is actually good. It's in some ways, I've talked about, it's been your superpower and what you can achieve. And I actually said, I would go back to myself and say, look, that problem you think you've got, that's not a problem. That's your superpower. That's going to help you. And make sure you protect that and don't let anybody use it against you in a way. But also be aware of your I don't want to call it like kryptonite, but your kryptonite, right? The things that you can't do and you really struggle with. Yeah. And I think when you go into being a founder, understanding what you're really good at and what you're not good at is critical, and then building a proper team around yourself. And, I've had experiences where people have used my kryptonite against me on founder journeys, but outside of that too. And they've also turned my superpower, so to speak, against me in a way that's been really horrible. And you challenge yourself. Founders are always riddled with doubt in any case about what they're doing, but to have that is quite hard. So I would just tell myself to believe in that and stick to it. Go on, Kevin.
Really
what would you?
Yeah, that's really powerful.
What about you?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, more self-belief is the thing. I think it's having the guts to start something is great, and I would definitely tell myself to be more entrepreneurial and start earlier.
Back yourself.
Yeah,
I agree with
that. Phrase I want to back yourself, because some people naturally just back themselves, and good thing is success tends to gravitate to them because they've got so much self-belief. And I think as a founder, it's easy to have a great idea and a desire to do something and take that first step, but then you can easily kind of doubt yourself. Because the journey is going to be difficult, isn't it? It's going to be hard. So
yeah, as I said, I think most founders are riddled with self-doubt. I bet, Kevin, if I talked to you about that, you'd say you just said you doubt. So when we went on the journey with pre-Clearbank, when I did Clearbank, we did RTGS, and even with Sporter, you end up with this. You do end up with a doubt, and it's anything I would say to that is that I think people who are really successful as founders, and I've worked with Nick Ogden, who founded WorldPay. He's a serial entrepreneur. He founded WorldPay. It's his initial idea for Clearbank and RTGS, but I always think he hasn't got any self-doubt. No, he has.
Yeah.
What he's really good at is backing himself to make the right decisions around the people around him and the process. Yeah. And I think that's the thing is to back yourself and say, yeah, okay, I've got a great idea. I'm going to be stubborn about the idea. I'm going to own that idea, but I'm going to know that I don't know everything. That's when you start getting out of that doubt in your own head. Yeah. Find people around you who are better than you at the task that you're not so good at, and get those people to own that and come on the journey with you.
That's really. I just used to know. Well, I still know. I just haven't spoke for a while. Someone who and obviously a lot of people class that as imposter syndrome, right? And it's interesting no matter how high someone goes. Yeah. It's just a new level. And she did this wonderful reframe that I love. That it's not imposter syndrome. It's high achievers doubt. It shows you that actually you're reaching a stage where you're in growth, right? And so actually this feeling of uncomfortableness is normal.
People feed your doubts. People feed your doubts, especially, I mean, you would have had this on your journey. I've had this on many of my journeys, is that people like to, I think in the UK we're very negative anyway, but they like to feed that doubt. Oh, that's not such a good idea. Why would I do that? I'm not really into it. And you do take these things on board. And when it's your project as a founder, it is like your own kids. It's like someone's telling you that your kids are ugly. Yeah, and that's not what you...
And I think the trouble is particularly with the neurodiverse piece, is actually the worst doubt you can have is when the self-doubt really kicks in, because that's the... for me, that's the worst doubt, and it's not not the nicest, not always the nicest spiral.
No, and the problem... Actually, the problem with being neurodiverse when you had that is that, I mean, I can think of 9 or 10 things at the same time. I see the big picture, right? The problem is with that is if you have 2 of those things that are self-doubt and negative, they can cloud your judgment a little bit. And I've often described this with my wife as like walking 9 dogs at the same time, because she's always like, I don't understand how you do. So, okay, imagine walking 9 dogs at the same time, and one of them's a pain in the neck, right? Yeah. And that's your self-doubt one. And all of a sudden you start feeding too much, or you're too much attention with that thing, and it runs off into the woods, and you're in a whole mess because you're losing all the things that you're good at. And that's just a weird.
That's the best analogy I've ever heard in my life. That's spectacular.
That's really good. Let's just have a slight change here from dogs to humans and back to humans. Yeah, well, that's true actually. Yeah, a lot of people do prefer animals over humans, and I can kind of tell why and understand why sometimes. But I would love to know how your thought process works over bringing people into your business. Obviously, there's that trust factor, but you've worked with many experts, gurus, whatever it might be. But Andrew, I know obviously a lot about what you've got going on with Sporter and the sorts of people that you've brought in, but how critical has that been to the growth of what you're building at the moment? And Kevin, when you get a chance as well, how you coach people as well into making and utilizing those networks?
So I would say it's the easiest thing to get wrong. And as a founder, I've been burnt by it, right? I've got scars of where you brought the wrong people in. And sometimes you feel like you're forced to bring people in, like investors. They will definitely put pressure on you. In our case, regulators have an expectation of certain people, or the standard of people you need to bring in. And you import different people's thoughts, different people's cultural belief, how you should run the actual business and things like that. So it's really, really hard. And I've found it. So I haven't got a great answer for you, to be frank. What I would say is with Sporter is that I've backed myself a lot more and gone, okay, how do I have a good feeling about these people, right? I kind of set myself up now a bit like as a Formula One team. Yeah. Okay, right. You're coming into the pit stop. Who's doing what? And who's really great at that particular role, and then much, much better than I'll ever be. That's the sort of person I need to bring in for that particular role. But they need to play nicely and be great with everybody else. It is a real team play. But in saying that, I also hate some of the things I've heard myself say in the past, which is, leave people with egos at the door. Don't have people with ego. Don't have this. They've got to be a team player. Yes, they do. But the best teams out there have people with ego. They have people who are your superstars, right? If I look at my favourite team, like the Chicago Bulls of 1996, if you're a basketball fan. Right?
Jordan and Pippen.
Right. Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, even Steve Kerr's got a bit of an ego, right? But, Kukoc, all of those players, unbelievable egos, unbelievable, powerful individuals. And who's going to take the last shot? We always say it's going to be Michael, but it wasn't, right? And you look at that team, and they're all brought together because you had someone who's a really strong, powerful leader and understood how to get everyone to play nicely. So my only lesson, and the thing that I'm doing quite well with Sporter so far, is identifying the right superstars to put in there, looking past the ego, looking past the things there, and just getting a gut feel around who they are and how they interact with each other.
But that comes down to the human connection piece again, isn't it? Somehow,
and I'm rubbish
somehow
at that as
segueing
well,
it back into the podcast, but it is that piece, right? It's that gut feel. I think gut feel, I talk about this a lot in partnerships. You can match up everything in terms of audience, alignment in services, all this good stuff. But if the values piece isn't there, if the gut feel, then it will be destined to not really become everything that it should be. And I say, a lot of the time it is that gut feel piece, right? And there's almost as many neuroreceptors in your gut as there is in your brain and stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, something feels right or not.
But I think the longer you do what you do, the more you learn to trust your gut, I think.
Well, I want to know what Kevin thinks. You've obviously got a process.
I'm very similar to you, actually. It's really difficult when going on not everyone wants to go on a journey as well. Do you know what I mean? Someone comes into a startup. Some people the ideal is you think everyone's going to want to come in and they're going to want to see this through and have a big X. Not everyone's built that way. And even if they think
you think they're going to roll their sleeves up and get in the muck and bullets. I know, and they don't.
Bring people at a senior level. You think, they're going to be working till midnight every night. And they're going to be, and then just not half the time. They're like, actually 9 to 5, and you can't really make them do much more. But it's tough as well, isn't it? Because what you need brilliant people, and they're not necessarily the people that are going to be able to necessarily afford or keep on the journey. Because after 2-3 years, when they start getting a bit bored, and again, there's nothing really quick coming down the line, it's hard to keep them. So you do need the very best people to make things work. It's
But
essential.
it's the best people for the right time.
With the right time, yeah, and that's the vein we're trying to find, isn't it? The best people with the right attitude at the right time, and finding that vein between all those is really, really tricky.
How do you feel about when? Somebody asked me about how do you have succession planning, and then you knew to move on, right? So, I mean, I left Clearbank at the right time for me. I definitely was the right time for me, and I left RTGS at the right time for me, even though they're both companies I founded, which is weird to say that, but some people don't know when to leave, but I think I'm pretty good at knowing when I should be gone. What's your? That sounded awful. I should be gone.
Should be got, yeah.
Maybe edit that one. I should be gone. But you know what I mean. It's the right time to
I know
leave.
exactly what you mean, and I think it applies as well earlier in the journey, because there's the right time to actually leave the company, but it equally applies the right time to let your hands off things as part of the journey. So, for example, when you start off, you're kind of doing everything. You've got your hands in everything, isn't it? And at what point do you kind of you're really starting like a proper like bootstrap kind of company? At what point can you let your hands off the accounts and trust someone? At what point can you let your hands off the product and let someone else design it? At what point can you let your hands off the testing and trust other people are going to test it? And all these times you're kind of letting your hands off and trusting other people are going to do something that you've relied on yourself to do. And in your mind, you think only you can do. And you kind of have that almost kind of arrogance of thinking, I've only I can do this, I've got to do it. And it's when you're able to let those things go and realize you can bring in people that are better than you.
What do you think is what's the thing that people should hang on to last?
Yeah.
And what's the thing that typically they do hang on to last, even though they should get? Or what's the thing they hang on to too long?
Well, the thing they shouldn't. No, hang on.
Yeah, what's the thing that they should hang on to the longest?
Yeah.
And what's the thing they actually hang on to the longest? In your
I think the thing that people do hang on to longest is the thing that they connect to most. If you're a product person, you hang on to the product. If you're a developer, you hang on to the tech. If you're a financial person, you hang on to the commercials. I'll give you a real example from my life.
Well, just one thing. I would say though that just to your point, the problem is a lot of founders don't hang on to the vision as it was long enough.
Right. Yeah.
And for a longer time.
And that's back to the self-doubt, because you pivot and things happen.
When somebody else says you need to earn money quicker than that, and you need to do this, and you give it up.
Yeah.
So I would say, actually, to your point, what you should hang on to is why did you actually start the business in the first place?
Nice.
Do not lose that, even when you've exited. So I've exited Clearbank, right? But I would say the journey that it's still on is the journey that we originally penned back in 2014. It still is, right? Even the products they've just announced right now are products that Nick and I had in the roadmap back in 2014. But that's really great to see it going on, right? But you let go of things too early. I think your point around what you shouldn't let go of is the things that you hold on too much. Is you're the product person, you stay with product too long. I agree.
Do you think that's different if the founder is because I've seen this before, like, is a non-technical founder? So they're not a dev, they're not a product, they're the ideas person, and they bring in a CTO and all that good stuff. Are they more likely, in your experience, to hang on to the vision piece and that because they sit outside of the technical stuff, or not so much?
Potentially, but they will. Any founder is going to be in the detail, and whether that's the detail of the commercial strategy, or whether it's the detail of exactly what's on the roadmap or what's changing. And and I think you've nailed it. What you said actually is sticking to the vision, owning that consistently, and leading that is what's important. Everything else, really, other people can come in and you'll find people that are better than you, but you've got to be able to lead that vision through and hang on to that. I think, and I think as Andrew said, that is the last thing to give up. To stick with all the way through. Everything else.
It's the thing that makes you the business that you are. Just look at some of the challenger bank. I'm not going to name them, but look at 2 or 3 of the challenger bank where the founders have left.
Yeah.
That vision that made them special to the original community that bought in and opened accounts with them, it's gone. It's very, very different, right? And therefore, you're starting to lose. You're diluting what the proposition was. Yeah. And one of the things with Sporter is, I'm really passionate at making sure that I own the mission, the vision, where we're going, and orchestrate the team around me. So, my background is tech. I'm loving being in the weeds a bit of the tech, right? Our AI native agents, the Sporter PT concept that we've got is fantastic, and it's revolutionary. It really is. But I know that I don't have enough time to deal with that now. As much as that's the most thing I'm passionate about, I'm spending probably more time in our ICAP and ILAP and our technical documents around finance stuff that's not really. There's definitely people better than me at that, right? 100%. But spending more time there because that's why I need to understand the moving parts of the business. And we've got a great CIO who's come in. She's fantastic, and she's really driving it forward. And I think, I won't ever tell her this, but she's definitely better than I am at owning that. But I'm not gonna tell her that because
definitely not mention it on a podcast.
What were we in? 20 minutes in, I'll tell her no, skip that bit. You're not mentioned.
You're right though, and it's really nice actually when you can bring someone into the business and you realise they're better than you at what they're doing. I had a really like an eye-opening experience one point where we had quite a big demo planned. It was with a bank, and so it was almost like arrogance. And I better do this, and it's a big demo. Even though we had a team of like 5 salespeople, it's like this is the big one. I better be in there and do it. So I went in there, and the salesperson we had, and she was really good. I knew she was good, but I kind of assumed I'm going as the founder. I'll take this.
She's good, but she's not your good.
Yeah, the arrogance.
Founders have all got the same experience.
It really is, isn't it? I remember going into this meeting just assuming I'll run this, and she'll maybe she'll pick a few bits up. But like I think maybe to prove a point, she just kind of took control of it and just like I'm doing this demo, and she just did, which was fair play to her. It's great, right? And this demo she did was just completely different to how I'd have done it. She, in a way that I'd never even have thought of doing it. And by the end, I was just like, you're so much better at this. And you're watching someone demo, this thing you created, and looking the way I demo it now, it looks ridiculous. And I'm watching what she's done, and then and getting a great outcome, and I'm sitting there thinking, why am I thinking I've got to come in now? I'm gonna have to take this, and clearly, and it's the same with product, it took me I'm a product person really, so it took me ages to take my hands off the product. But again, when you eventually see, you do trust someone else to do it, and you look at what they're doing and just see that how much better it is than what you're doing, and how much more of a grip they've got, and how much more they're able to make things happen. And you're like, again, the quicker sometimes you can let yourself go from these things, because a lot of the time you are holding a business, you're clamping onto something, doing it your way, which is
messaging is one.
Yeah,
I always say messaging. Right?
Yeah.
So if you're a founder, you think you've got messaging licked because you're like, you do, don't you? Like, as you said, I've created this. This is the message.
In your mind forever, thinking.
You do, don't you? You go to bed thinking of what your messaging is going to be. How do I sell this to people? How do I? Georgie, you said, have you got a 20-second pitch or an elevator pitch? I refuse to have one now because I know it'll just stick in my head.
I did say 60 second, not 20 second.
Right?
20 second is mean.
But 60 second, that was sit in my head for months. It really will. And I just think, you know what? Don't do it, because there'll be somebody who can come into the business and articulate it a million times better than me in probably 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
And there's me going, the importance of sport and all this, because it's how the business was founded, right? And it's the driver behind it. But it's give up messaging. Founders give up messaging.
Oh, it's tough. Again, it's because it's a real personal thing, isn't it? It's so connected and personal to the business. Taking your hands off and trusting someone else to do messaging and kind of convey your kind of business is.
I think that's true of lots of different businesses as well. Like I've ran businesses before, but my business now is consultancy, right? And even with mine, it's been going 5 years, and I had to work with someone else to really nail my own positioning stuff. And he went, "Oh, is it not like this and a bit like this?" And I'm like, again, just like, "Oh my word, that's so much better." And then people resonate
when they
more.
get
And I'm like,
yeah,
"Oh,
of
okay,
course,
right." Like,
I think the fear though is as a founder, you hear someone play it back and they compare you straight, because people have to compare.
Yeah.
We got compared as, you like the Revolut with heart and soul. What? May have to cut that, but it kind of gets across the point, right? Which is, we've got loads of different. I see the comparison. There is lots of different streams that we'll bring to the marketplace, and we're very forward looking. And we have heart and soul because we want to make sure the community's there in sports. You've got your mission driven, your mission led.
Yeah.
But I would never describe it as that ever. Now, I don't know whether that's because I'm now just too precious, but and you do hear people come up with their messaging. You think, no, that's wrong. Don't ever talk to me again about my own messaging, please. And then you'll get somebody who does nail it on the 3rd or 4th time, and you think, to your point, they're much better than me. I need to step back now and let go of that.
It's great. It's a really nice thing to see, though, isn't it? When you kind of the confidence it gives you as well to know you've got better people doing jobs in the business than you can.
How do you feel now that you exited? So when you look back at the business that you exited, so I exited Clearbank, and I look back and I'm kind of like, I sold out as well. Sold out? I've sold my equity. Right. Sorry, I've sold out. I'm like a rock star. Gone to No.
Oh, I thought I was going the other way of sold out. Like, I've got to get to all my morals. It's sold out.
No, definitely didn't do that. But what I'm trying to say is that I have no skin in the game anymore there, right? So, and I sit there and I still champion everything that Clearbank does, right? It's still my baby to extent. I know it's Nick Ogden's original concept, his idea, but everything that I poured into that is there. Do you have the same thing where you're still
100%.
watching it?
Yeah, I mean,
You're watching how good people are with the messaging that's.
yeah. I mean, like, so I'm still, I'm still very much in contact with the CEO, the chap that runs it. So we had my original co-founder left about halfway through the journey, and then the chap who's the CEO now kind of became like a co-founder when he joined. He's very much been on the second half of the journey. And I mean, when you go through that process with someone, you end up with a certain bond, don't you? You're going through an M&A process, and it's brutal, and it kind of, you form a bond with somebody. So we're still quite close. We talk a lot. So, and when we talk, I still refer to it as us. Anything to do with.
I do like the language. I love it when people talk about. So when we've been interviewing people to join us on the Sporter journey, the key thing that's been like the thing that actually, I don't know if I should say this, but it's the thing that actually I think you get it is when they start talking about the benefits and they use we could on us, and this is what it means to me, and they start looking at their own experiences and playing that back. And the biggest takeaway, actually going back to your hiring point, is when someone doesn't talk to me about money and what's in it for them straight away. That's a really weird one. How can Sporter serve them? No. You're supposed to be here to help Sporter serve a community.
Well, it comes back to that connection piece again. It shows that they've connected with your mission and your values, and they're going to be the right person, aren't they?
You've just reminded me of something. So I think somewhere you said you usually ask your guests, what would you say to yourself if you're now, as in if I was a kid now?
Yeah.
And you're talking about connections. One of the things that I thought about when I read that was, I talked to myself about being neurodivergent, blah. But I would also add in the importance of reading the room and language that's used. I am awful at it. My wife would say I haven't got empathy. I don't pick up signals. I can talk far too long. I can talk too shortly. I can, that's really, really important. And it's becoming more important because of, to your point earlier on about AI and the homogenization of the way that we all talk, but also the nuances around language. I've got a big bugbear at the moment with language, and I would tell my younger self, be careful how you use it, because people love to use snap bites, don't they? Snap bites, sound bites, and snippets, and take it out of context and use it against you. But equally, the biggest thing that's frustrating me is the overplaying of language of now. So let's think of it. The left back for Fulham, right? They'll go, "Oh, he's a legend of the game." He's a legend of the game.
I literally hate how the word literally is used.
Literally,
That's the word. It's literally the wrong definition. That's the ironic thing about it.
But it's so frustrating. But it's overplayed for a stadium, right? It's an impact. He's a legend of the game. I was like, okay, he's a very good left back. Actually, I think he's very good left back, right? And he's probably a firm favourite of the fans. Will he be remembered by a Chelsea supporter in 25 years' time? No, he's not a legend of the game then. So don't use that word. I could sit here quite easily, right? And write, LinkedIn's awful for this, and I feel like I'm on my soapbox. It was you starting me off on this. So if you look at LinkedIn, everyone is changing the world. So I'm tempted to put on LinkedIn that Sporter will disrupt the global hierarchy of sport. England, so Team GB will be right at the top of the gold medal table because Sporter. That's the sort of thing you'll see on
Anything,
Wouldn't look out of place, would it?
No, he wouldn't look out of it. And I could argue it because I go, oh well, actually, we're transforming the way funding comes into these grassroots clubs. And if you transform the funding, they can invest more. They invest more, you get better facilities, better coaches, you get a wider pool of talent that's coming in. You get a wider pool of talent coming in, you get a pathway into elite sport.
We get it. All right.
You get it. But
my favourite LinkedIn
can't do
are
it.
parody ones. There's so many. But then seeing all the people not realising that it's parody, right? And you're like, they're just here for the comments. Anyway, something we were talking about earlier, the pre-show chat was who's the strict one and the non-strict one out of our the halves, right? And in the Dave and Georgie show, I think I'm very much the strict one, so I'm going to have to bring us back round and on.
I keep trying, but I'm just caught up in the conversation, and I just want to say, there's me. I was going to describe you guys as the legends that are on the show, and no more. Just the substandard.
Average guest.
I think that was my post the other day about the first episode, wasn't it? This is what no one's been waiting for, and it was bang average. But yeah, no,
That was
thank
good.
you. No, that was honestly really, really cool. But we do need to bring it back to, you know, the networking
It's
piece.
gone quick, isn't it?
And it flies by. Absolutely. It's great conversation.
This last 5 minutes is quick fire.
Someone said they didn't know how this was going to work as, you know, 4 people. And I think it does. I think, you know,
Yeah.
allowing you guys to talk, but also, yeah, having Dad in the room, putting his foot down. So we're going to move on to the segment which we've called Networking 101, which if you look over Andrew's shoulder is
Oh, wow.
a bottle of O water. So we're calling it Networking
right.
101.
Yeah.
Just for fun. It's one of the
That's very
brands that I
good.
work
Yeah.
with. And actually the first question is going to be what's the best ever introduction you've made or received? And I'm actually selfishly going to talk about one of mine, which is I introduced my networking pal, now kind of business partner, to the company that bottles that water. So where the water comes from, who subsequently Andrew knows very well, and that's how we met, through that person. But
That was
yeah.
my story, yeah.
yeah.
No asking you now.
But what a weird coincidence. Someone said to me that they are, you know, bringing out this water brand, O Water, which is a harmonically treated water with 528 hertz, which is the frequency of love and healing. And he mentioned this to me, and he wasn't sure where he was going to get it bottled. He had a couple of options, and I threw that one into the ring, and yeah, that's
Good
what
intro.
he went with. So yeah, great intro. But what a weird coincidence, and also it's about being specific, which
When you
is what
Yeah.
Dave always
When you
talks
said
about.
introductions, I thought you meant how we got introduced, because I've got a great story around that one. But
How we got
no,
introduced.
how people introduce you. I mean, I was on a
Oh,
Teams
right,
call only
okay.
last week,
Yeah,
and a friend of mine introduced me to a potential investor. And you're like this, the way he invested.
yeah, go on.
He said, right, this is Andrew. Andrew's a failed. Oh, what's he a failed
Not a
at?
legend.
So he's a failed founder of a couple of businesses. We'll skip that, but he's a failed. He did honestly. He said,
Start with the positives.
yeah, he
isn't
said
it?
he's a failed basketball player. This is true. I didn't make it. He's a failed cricket player. This is true. I didn't get out of the second 11. Didn't go through. Failed at motorsport. That's true. I didn't get the sponsorship for Formula Palmer. And but he's okay at a bit of banking and a bit of tech. So there you are.
There you
That's
go.
your introduction. It's like,
Over
very
to
memorable,
you.
but it's a different sort of introduction.
Okay, so the intros that we're talking about are business referrals intro. So I mean, we are fairly short on time, but if there's any standout ones that you can think of, let us know.
Well, I mean, one always stands out to me. I managed to introduce a founder, a fairly late stage founder, who was desperately trying to sell his business. I managed to introduce him to an M&A advisor who sold his business for him. And it's one of those, you know, because I mean, I'm still in touch with him now, and his life's changed so much through that. And I'm convinced, not that I'm some kind of genius matchmaker, just I happened to be there, and what he was talking about, I happened to know someone. But like, you know, if I hadn't gone to that networking event, or if he hadn't gone, I'm convinced he wouldn't have sold his business, because it was quite a specific niche, and it was quite a specific person that would have done it for him. And you kind of think of these things, you know, these kind of sliding doors moments, isn't it? Where if you know, I could easily not have gone to that, or he could have not have gone to it, and probably, you know, again, not me personally, but just someone making that connection can be life changing. And so that's the one for me. I mean, it's I can see tangibly just through that event that like I was able to connect him to someone which has literally changed the course.
What I would say is don't downplay that as much as I think you did there.
I
That's
think
a
that-
good-
I
that's a
wouldn't
good
downplay
thing.
that.
I know it's an easy thing to do, but you did that's a
No,
wonderful
it's good.
thing.
Yeah, it's nice to do. You know, but that's the power, I think, isn't it, of
Yeah.
connections. You know, the power of kind of connecting, isn't it? Is it? If you can connect to other people, that you know, and again, it's a massive win-win. One wants to sell a business, one wants to have defeat. And it's brilliant. You know, so yeah, that one always stands out.
You've got to be in it to win it, right?
Being a to win it.
And
Yeah.
you
No, top trumps. He's top trump me.
Oh,
That's it.
fine. Okay, fine. The next question is, I don't know how much networking you do these days. I'm going to assume a little bit, probably not as much as I do.
Well, I think there's big networking events, but if you're looking for fundraising and stuff, like there's
Totally.
the argument that there's varying degrees of networking, isn't there? Right?
Completely. So the question here is, do you have a networking hell or heaven scenario? What would be, you know, your fave in either direction?
Most of it is hell for me. I don't like the whole. You go into a networking event and there's a clique of people already who know each other,
Yeah.
and they're already talking. And you think, oh, I've got to try and introduce myself. I hate
It's
that.
awful, yeah.
My networking heaven, I actually went to about 6 months ago, which was a kind of a round table event. Had a little bit of food and dribble nibbles and stuff. And a guy acted as almost like a compere and interviewed
Right,
everybody.
Yeah.
Then you had a kind of free for all conversation, and then it broke out into a wider network. That was networking heaven. That was very, very good. And he brought the right people to the room.
Yeah.
Because you always network for a reason.
I'll be honest, even though the networking events that I host, they are actually my favourite type of event, is exactly what you just described,
Yeah.
if I were to go to one. And for you, Kevin?
Yeah, and anything kind of warm drinks involved is always good. That kind of thing. It's the health meal. I've been to a few recently. It's exactly what you say. So it's not even really particularly organised. It's just like a room, and everyone's in conversation. Everyone's trying to butt into conversation because it's embarrassing that you're standing there, don't know what to say, and you're going to. So in the end, you're having to try and butt into a conversation, and you're trying to help other people butt into a And some networking events, it just seems to set up to make that happen. Others are very good. Like the WOCO stuff is very good because it's very friendly, it's very accommodating. You can instantly just start talking to people, and it's
Thank you very much.
It's honestly true. But you go to other events where just literally, so we'll just pull a load of people in a room, hope for the best, and just it's like you see people coming into the networking who maybe a bit younger, not that confident, and it's so awkward. You feel awkward for them because they're trying to come in and introduce themselves, and what do you do? And it's like, yeah, I'm like you. I'm much of it I don't like. But I do like the WOCO generally.
And I think what's interesting there actually is, as someone who's run like hundreds of events of all different sorts, and when we hosted them, my favourite were the round tables as well. But I think the most important thing isn't necessarily the structure; it's the people in the room.
Correct.
Like you said, although that sometimes a structure is set up and could be awkward.
Yeah.
If the right people are in there with the right culture, which is the hardest thing to build, so hats off to you, Georgie.
Yeah.
Then actually someone comes in awkward, and I'll spot someone and go, "Oh, come and talk to us."
Yeah.
But equally, you could have the right format, like a round table. But actually, that could have been held because you could have been sat with 5 people who you really didn't want to be speaking to. Right? So I think the people is the.
But we all network for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think the networking events often lose the point of the networking. So, I'm either looking there for funds, as you said, right? We're raising money. We've got a crowd fund actually. It starts with Sporter in the next. Well, it depends when this goes out. It might be out right now. So the community can come and join in and invest in Sporter. But you have those sorts of things, or you have people who are looking for supply chains, or you've got people who are looking to sell, or you've got people looking to buy. If you've got the right mixture, you get a great event. But if you're all the same people looking for investment at the same event, that's absolutely horrendous.
Completely.
Yeah, and I met a couple of people at WOCO event. Jim Holland. So I've had lunch with Jim and
good old Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, well, so as you know, Jim's on in I think December now. He's not available until. But
lovely guy, very natural to speak to, and it's like you kind of know when networking works when you actually make contacts that you follow up with.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? You actually go out for lunch, have a coffee, and it's genuine. There's another one I'm involved in Cardiff, where again a couple of meetings where I'm actually going out and meeting people, and having a coffee outside of the networking. That's when if you're just turning up and just trying to get through an hour because it's embarrassing and just trying to talk to a few people and scan some cards, that's the hell, and that's what so many of them tend to be now. It's like just organise events, chuck some people in a room, and
Well, that's not about connection. It's about gathering business.
It's about connection, right? That's
right?
exactly right.
You want to have actual conversations, and the fortune's always in the follow-up, right?
Yeah,
It's what
100%.
What you do outside of that.
Yeah.
So,
completely.
quick fire round.
Yes. Right. So we have got a quick fire rounds worth of questions. Oh my god, I can't even.
Wow, keep that in. Don't edit that. We'll keep it.
Has she been drinking?
Yeah.
She's been drinking water.
No, that'll be a strawberry daiquiri. Can you see that? No. Anyway, we are going to do a quick fire round of questions. Is that the right thing to say?
Quick fire round.
Just a quick fire round, isn't it?
Quick fire round. Yes.
Fire some questions quickly.
Yes, thank you.
Which, ironically, this has been the longest intro to a quick fire round, right?
we need someone that, a PR person to come and sort our messaging out. Anyway, so Dave is going to ask the question. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and then together you just both answer. It's quite funny
Oh my
when you-
word.
Yeah?
Let's see what in sync we are.
Early mornings or night owl?
3, 2, 1.
Early.
Proper boozer or fancy wine bar?
3, 2, 1.
Both.
Boozer.
AI comments on LinkedIn?
3, 2, 1.
No.
Business cards?
3, 2, 1.
Business cards. I like business. What are you going for?
I'm just a LinkedIn scan.
I hate that because then I forget to contact you.
You don't have business cards for like Sporter yet, do you? Surely.
We do.
No,
I
well,
need
I
to
haven't
make
got
them.
one.
I know I need to make them better because we did a little thing that looks like a debit card, but I'm going to bin that and
Oh,
just give
cute,
you a debit
actually.
card.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give you a real card. Yeah.
Nice.
Much better.
What's your favourite cheese?
3, 2, 1.
Blue.
Brie. Ooh,
Nice. Yeah, things are the
I will go with a bit of blue.
And what was your first car?
3, 2, 1.
Austin
Volkswagen
Metro.
Oh, no, in a Metro. Nice. Classic
And I bet you modified
Cute.
it. We're the same age, right? So you probably modified it.
Well, kind of with my mum's, then I kind of took it off her.
Yeah, the same as my Metro, yeah.
Aww.
And weirdly, like literally 20 years on almost, she's still got the car, and I borrowed it. I was between cars, and I borrowed it off her for literally for a week, and I ended up keeping it for 3 years.
Oh.
Again, it's like
Word.
I was going like towards the end of the company that I had. It was actually quite a big company. It's actually doing quite well. And the other kind of execs and stuff are driving their, Porsches and that. And I was doing this battered old Polo. Like,
Yeah.
but I loved it, Joey. I absolutely loved it.
I
Like,
wish
it's like,
I wish I
tasty
could
youth.
say the same. And I kept my mum's Metro, but me and my friend put a stereo in it, and it got pinched.
Oh, no.
No. Well, let's not end on a somber note. Very quickly, because we've got to wrap up.
Yeah.
Number one networking tip. In any context. So it could just be about human connection and relationships.
Be yourself, I would say.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'd go with that. Be yourself. Be a bit more direct to the point. I think people turn up in networking and they won't actually tell you why they're there for
Oh, you
quite
see,
some
a
time.
lot of people don't like that though. You see, that kind of goes against the grain a little bit.
Well, no,
'cause-
no, I'm
I
not
think
saying
they're doing
blurt
it.
it
They're
out.
doing it in the right way.
Yeah, no,
let
I
people
agree.
know. Let people know how they can help you, and
Yes.
and it's amazing what
Completely.
they will do.
And
Yeah.
don't be boring.
Yeah.
Or beige, as you put it on an earlier
yeah.
podcast episode.
Is that what you said? Beige.
She doesn't like beige. They're beige events, and I look at the photos and there's beige.
Beige
She didn't say
balls,
people.
and I went beige.
we knew what she meant.
Yeah.
Right. On that note, guys, this has been absolutely spectacular.
Honestly,
Thank you
it's
so
been
much
so
for
good.
sharing. And thank you everyone for listening. Hey, really hope you both enjoyed that and found it useful.
And if you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Cheers.
Cheers.